Hello. My name is Mrs. Randall and today we are going to learn about fiction and non-fiction texts. Before we get started, we first need to understand genre. Genre is a term used to describe books that share a certain style, form, or content. There are two main types of texts, fiction and non-fiction. And under those two types of texts, are different types of reading genres. But, today we are going to focus on these two main text types, fiction and non-fiction. First, let's begin with defining fiction. Fiction is a story with make-believe characters and events made up in the author's mind. Next, let's define non-fiction. Non-fiction texts are real stories that tell, inform, and explain. Let's take a look at some examples of fictional texts. A book about Curious George, Frozen, Harry Potter, and Princess and the Frog, all have make-believe characters that were made up by the author. Now, let's take a look at some non-fiction texts. Books about the lives of Abraham Lincoln, George Washington Carver, books about how seeds become plants, and penguins are all real stories that tell the reader something, inform, and explain. Okay friends. Let's see if you can identify which story is fiction or non-fiction. I'm going to tell you two stories and I want you to determine whether the story I tell is fiction or non-fiction. You can do it. Skylar was in her room playing her game when her mother walked in.
Skylar, it is getting late. Put the game up and go to bed.
May I please play just a little while longer, Mom?
No, you may not. You have school in the morning.
Skylar put the game up and went to bed. She fell asleep as soon as her mother left. She dreamed of traveling to outer space as she did every single night. As Skylar was sleeping, a fairy suddenly appeared in her bedroom and sprinkled magical dust on Skylar. The magical dust placed Skylar into a spaceship and sent her to outer space. She landed on the moon. Skylar stood still in amazement.
Wow. I can't believe it. I'm really here. I'm really standing on top of the moon.
Skylar was so excited. She even did a little happy dance to celebrate the fact that her dreams finally came true when suddenly, she heard a voice.
Skylar Grace Cooper, it is time for you to get up and get dressed for school.
Skylar was back in her bedroom.
Mom, you won't believe it. I traveled to outer space and landed on the moon. Can you believe it?
Sure honey, I believe you. Now get dressed for school.
Okay friends. Now it's time to determine whether the story I read to you is fiction or non-fiction. Take a moment to think about it. Great job. If you said fiction, then you were absolutely right. The story I read to you had make-believe characters and events that I made up in my mind. Now, let's try another one. Avery loved her big sister Sydney. She especially loved watching her run track. Sydney was an awesome runner. In fact, she was the fastest runner on her high school track team. Sydney worked out and practiced for hours after school daily and Avery was always there cheering her on. One day, Avery decided to ask her sister a question she had been thinking about for quite some time.
Sydney, why do you work so hard when you're already so good?
Because I want to be an Olympic star just like Flojo one day.
Okay but, Sydney, who is Flojo?
Florence Griffith Joyner, also known as Flojo, was born in Los Angeles, California, on December 21, 1959. In 1984 at the Summer Olympics, she won a silver medal in the 200-meter run. She took home 3 gold medals and a silver at the 1988 Summer Olympics in South Korea. Flojo died unexpectedly in September 1998, at age 38, but she still holds the world records in the 100 and 200 meter events. So, In order for me to be just as good as FloJo, I have to keep working hard.
Oh. I get it, Sydney. Now get back to work. An Olympic medal is waiting with your name on it.
Okay friends. Now it's time to determine if the story I read to you is fiction or non-fiction. Take a moment to think about it. Make me proud. Great job friends. If you said non-fiction, you are correct. The story was about a real person, real events, and it was told by Sydney to inform and explain. Awesome work. Today you have learned that fiction texts consist of make-believe characters and events that the author makes up in his mind. You also learned that non-fiction texts are about real people and real events and are used to tell, inform, and explain. Goodbye my friends. I hope to see you again soon. Please like this video and subscribe to my channel for more instructional videos, and remember to keep learning and growing.